History time. It's time to have some fun with some history. Let me switch things over to the right screen. There we go. All right, so we are continuing our history of the KIEVAN RUS. So when we last left off, we had the great ruler Swadislav the Great, who expanded southward, and you can kind of see areas subjected to frequent Viking raiding but with little or no Scandinavian settlement, as they pushed south here and helped the Byzantines with their war with the Bulgars. Now, this is actually a really sweet map. I like this one a lot because it shows you how the KIEVAN RUS, for the most part, expands over time. And remember that KIEVAN RUS is, for the most part, it's a combination of Slavic, not necessarily Hunnic, but Turkic tribes, and the ones over here to the steppe, and Scandinavian tribes. So you have this huge kind of melting pot of societies here in the states. Now, it is known as the Great. How great is he? Great. So, when Swadislav dies, or is killed, is a better way to put it, he has 2 legitimate sons and 1 bastard son. Now, you know what? Let me see if I can get a map of KIEVAN RUS 974. And this leaves a little bit of an interesting situation, just like we get with almost everything throughout history at the time. Good one? Is this a good one? This is a little bit further than I want to go, but this will at least kind of help us talk about some locations on the map. So with this kind of succession, more or less, you have the land once again divided up by sons. In Kiev, you have Yaropolk, and then in around Minsk area, you have Oleg, and up in Novgorod, you have got Vladimir. Now, Vladimir is a bastard son of Swadislav, and so he does not necessarily have the same level of fame or notoriety, of course, as the other two, because they are legitimate sons. And at this time, there was a large amount of boyars that made up, for the most part, kind of this ruling class outside of the Grand Prince, and the boyars essentially influenced the Grand Prince, and in this case, they influenced 2 of the 3 brothers. The first of one is Dobrynya, who is the uncle, or maternal uncle of Vladimir. And so he is in Novgorod, and he kind of helps raise Vladimir, as well as help kind of giving him, I don't want to say tips, but it's more than that. He essentially is a puppet ruler behind the boyars, is essentially how it worked. And Yaropolk was by Swednaldr. Can't pronounce that one. But he was basically a grand veteran in the army of Swadislav. So these 3 kind of have this tension built up between the 3 of them. And it rises to a head when the boyar of Yaropolk was killed. I'm sorry, the son of the boyar of Yaropolk was killed in the lands of I can't remember off the top of my head the name of them now. Welcome to the history lessons, where I don't remember names that are, God, this is one thing I just can't fucking stand about Crusader Kings, is if you alt-tab, good luck trying to get the game to work. Oh man, I can't remember these guys right here. It's not Druznik, it's not shit. Starts with a D, and I just cannot think of it right now. But essentially the tribe that makes up this location that is where the son went, and that's where he got killed. So this creates immediate tension between Yaropolk and Oleg. And Yaropolk goes to invade Oleg's territory. And this comes to the battle in 976 at this location, actually, right here, Ovrush. And Drevlians, thank you, Drevlians, thank you, Ollie. So the Drevlians is the tribe that consists of pretty much this area. Their main city is here at Korostin. So they go to the Drevlian land of Arush, I believe, Arush, and they fight a big battle here. And there's a huge moat that goes around this city, and there's a bridge that crosses this moat. And the forces that are fighting end up kind of in a scuffle on the bridge, and people are pushed off of this bridge, and they fall into the shallow, muddy waters and are usually killed in some way or another, drowning, asphyxiation, shot by arrows or spears, whatever the situation was. So when this battle is eventually won, Yaropolk says, "Where is my brother? He has to bow before me." And essentially all the soldiers and the townsfolk go like, "Go ahead and check that moat." And in the moat is his brother, who has fallen to his death and drowns in this 3 inches of water and mud. And essentially it was an interesting scenario, because this was not Yaropolk wanting to go fight Oleg. This was the boyar under Yaropolk that was pulling the strings and saying, "Hey, this is what you have to do. You have to go do this because it will look weak if you don't. He killed your boyar's son. This is an important thing. You have to go do this." Sorry. So when this happens, essentially this consolidates power for Yaropolk. And Vladimir, kind of fearing what's going to happen, flees Novgorod and goes over to Sweden. And and goes over to Norway, to be specific. He goes over to Norway. And from here, he kind of lays low for a little bit, but he's not necessarily just stagnant. In this meantime, Yaropolk establishes more boyars to rule over all of what is the KIEVAN Rus. And Vladimir takes a large army of what is essentially Viking mercenaries. I'll just say Viking to kind of compensate, or to include the entire Scandinavian lands here, and attacks back into Novgorod, sweeps away all the boyars, moves south, and attacks his brother. And he eventually corners his brother at the city of Rodinia in 978 and has his Viking mercenaries kill him. So in 978, Vladimir rises to the ultimate throne here as the Grand Prince of the KIEVAN Rus. And he, I don't want to say abolishes, but he gets rid of all the boyars except for his uncle here, Dobrynya. Drowning in shallow mud before the French made it to mainstream at Agincourt. But this is a pretty interesting time here, because you have to remember, this is towards the end of the 900s, right? We're coming into the first 1000. What? No. Refresh the stream. Just answering a question about the stream seeming choppy. If at any point the stream does seem choppy, please go ahead and refresh it. It shouldn't be, there shouldn't be any issues. It's all 100% on my end. So, at this time, you have the spread of a lot of different religions across the world. Mainly the Abrahamic faiths. And the reason behind that is because the largest powers at the time were of the Abrahamic faiths. Byzantine Empire was entirely Orthodox Christian. You have the huge Abbasid Caliphate, which is in all of modern-day Baghdad through North Africa, which is now pushed into Al-Andalus, into the Iberian portions of the peninsula, and that is all Muslim, or Islam for that matter. And you have the Khazars, which are Judaism, which are Jewish. And of course, you have Catholicism all throughout Western Europe. So you have these major hubs of commerce, of technology, of civilization, all across what is south of pretty much everything that is from the Viking Age. Everything that is Norway, Sweden, Rus, Finns, all south of that is, for the most part, consolidated in what we would consider an organized religion in Crusader Kings 3. So to help consolidate power, a lot of quote-unquote barbarians adopted Abrahamic faiths. It made consolidating power easier because they were able to get alliances solidified with members of the Abrahamic faiths. A good example would be the Volga Bulgars, who had converted to Islam. This made it way easier for them to trade into Baghdad down in the Abbasid Caliphate. And we will see a similar situation happen here very soon with KIEVAN Rus. But two brothers out of the Byzantine Empire traveled north, and they wanted to help spread Christianity, especially on the heels of Olga. Remember, we talked about Olga before this, who's the patron saint Olga, who was really the first adopter of Christianity in the Rus. And the Rus at the time was a combination of Norse and Slavic mythology or religion, I guess is the good way to say it. We see it in Crusader Kings 3 as Asatru and as Slovakianism. But these two faiths made up the chief religions of KIEVAN Rus. And on a massive hilltop outside of Kiev, Vladimir erected idols to all the gods of both religions, kind of creating this cohabitation of these religions without any issue. Remember, like I said earlier, the ruling portions, or I guess the nobility of KIEVAN Rus was Norse, while everyone else was still Slavic. Excuse me. So the two brothers, Cyril and, actually, yeah, there you go, Cyril and Methodius, traveled north from Byzantine lands to convert. And they have an initial issue converting in the Slavic regions because they speak Greek. Slavs do not speak Greek. So they make a new language to kind of try to bridge this gap. And that language is called Gallolithic. There it is, Gallolithic. I wrote it down over here and I'm like, what does my word say? Galagolitic. There we go. Galagolitic. I'm like, that's not how it's pronounced. Which eventually becomes Slavonic. And Slavonic is the language that is used to pretty much bridge that gap for Orthodox Christianity. And they use it predominantly, though, in the South Slavs and the Bulgars. This eventually gives way to Cyrillic, named after Cyril posthumously after his death, which I just butchered the pronunciation of that word. So Cyrillic is obviously the alphabet that you see still in the lands of Russia and most of Eastern Europe for the most part. Yes, it's an alphabet. Sorry, not a language. Sorry, I don't know why I said language. But it's pretty much to bridge that gap between Greek and Slavic. So this is important because most of the Western Slavs have converted to Christianity. The Volga Bulgars, like I said, are Muslim. The Khazars are Jewish. You have all these major religions. So Vladimir sends out his couriers and says, go out and find out what's the deal with all these religions. And he finds the man, my chest today. He finds the Jewish religion to be not necessarily awesome to him. I mean, remember, this is a land of conquest and a land of triumph and a land of glory. So to him, being kicked out of your homeland, he's like, that doesn't go well with me. I don't want to look at Judaism. He looks at Islam and he's overall not satisfied with it, especially because you can't drink alcohol. And he's like, no. Rus is a land of drinkers. We're not going to have this. So he nixes that. He looks at Catholicism and doesn't like that. Hold on one sec, guys. Let me drink some water. He looks at Christianity and he doesn't like how reserved it is for the most part. And then his scouts, and also he does not like how the churches are set up. He's like, this is not very appealing. And his scouts kind of come back from Byzantine Empire. They've gone to Constantinople. They've seen the Hagia Sophia. They've seen all the great works of Constantinople, and they come back and talk of the grandeur and the splendor of it. And there's already such a close relationship with Constantinople and the KIEVAN Rus that it's just kind of drink is the joy of the Rus. Thank you very much, Ali. That is his exact quote. That's what he says in regards to not being able to drink alcohol. He was a rabble rouser. He was all about. He had something like it was like 80 or 800 concubines, an inordinate amount of concubines. He had like 5 wives. This guy was like the party king of Rus. So when someone said, "Hey, you can't drink alcohol," he's like, "Well, then I'm just not going to do that." So he decides he wants to choose, like he chooses Byzantine, Orthodox Christianity as his religion. But he's also a pretty opportunistic person, and he realizes that he could probably get something out of this. And I've talked about this before, how he had already kind of had his eye on Princess Anna, the sister of Basil II, the Byzantine emperor. So he scoots on over to here. God, are you kidding me right now? Why don't you stop cock blocking me, Crusader Kings? Trying to make a history lesson, and you're over here just shitting on my bed. He sweeps right over to here. And he sacks it and says, "Hey, the same thing's coming for Constantinople if you don't give me what I want. I want Anna, and I want some tribute." And Basil II is already in a pretty tumultuous situation, and the, I guess you could say the precedent of marrying off sisters or daughters to any of the marauding portions of the barbarians of the land was pretty common. They're just, yeah, sure, here you go, leave us alone. We talked about how the Byzantine Empire will do whatever they can, paying their way out of certain situations. So when they take this and say, "Hey, I want these things," Basil II says, "Sure, you can have it. I'll give you money. We'll solidify trade routes, but you have to send me military aid, and you have to convert to Orthodox Christianity." Kind of thinking he got him. But Vladimir was already planning to do this. He just wanted to get something out of it, and he got a wife that he wanted out of it as well. So he converted, and remember, like I said, he sent the 6,000 Scandinavian or Viking mercenaries that he had used to solidify his crown some 10 years ago. We did it. I got rid of that fucking thing in my chest that was just bothering the crap out of me. So he does this and sends those 6,000, and it creates what becomes the Varangian Guard. Man. It's really bad right now, Misha. It is so dry and crappy out, and it's just all sorts of Santa Ana winds whipping around, dry, terrible air. It is horrible. So with this, Vladimir is not a man of half measures. So he converts everyone in the Dnieper River. He pulls them all out of Kiev and says, "You're all being converted to Christianity right here, right now." He topples all the idols at that hilltop that he erected some 10 years ago with his ascension. And Corny, I'm good, dude. It is all 100% allergies. He erects churches everywhere, and he takes on architects from the Byzantine Empire who help him erect all these churches. And from there, it just pretty much moves up the line. It expands from Kiev up into Novgorod, and Novgorod's really one of the last places that has a little bit of opposition. They sack the home of Dobrynya, the uncle, who pretty much says, "Okay, if that's what's going to happen," and it ends up actually killing his wife. They kill his wife. So he says, okay, well, that's fine. And they just pretty much pillage, Dobrynia pillages Novgorod and kills all the people that are in opposition to converting to Christianity and forcibly converts them on the spot. He baptizes them. So all of the major cities, all the major commerce hubs convert to Christianity under Vladimir I. Orthodox Christianity here, Orthodox Christianity. And from there, he pretty much rules the land peacefully for the remainder of his years. For the most part, his wife Anna becomes the head of faith in the empire, because he unites it all, right? He unites pretty much essentially this, minus that little portion up there, this right here. He unites all of KIEVAN Rus under one grand empire, right? There's no longer boyars, there's no longer warlords. It is one ruler that is now an Orthodox Christian ruler and has total control over everything and the support of the Byzantine Empire. And with that, we bring our history lesson to an end. And it does lead to some pretty interesting things with Moscow, which we'll come into in the later episodes here, especially as we talk about the Volga Bulgars and how the KIEVAN Rus eventually expands eastward and sets up what is Moscow, that it becomes the third most important holy site in Christendom outside of Rome and Constantinople, or the state of Moscow. Dragon, thanks, dude. I appreciate that, man. 156 from Big Daddy Dragon Overlord. We are good today. There's some buttons here. It's been really weird on YouTube lately. Like, I think with the US election going on. Fuck is wrong with shit? With the US election going on, it has they've like greatly reduced traffic to every other YouTube thing that's not directly related to the election. Like, everyone I've talked to has had just really bad traffic issues all of a sudden. They all want people to convert to Twitch? YouTube doesn't own Twitch. Amazon does. Okay. Let's have some. But if you are watching, guys, please do remember to like the stream. It does help me out a ton, especially in these trying, weird times. Okay, so we just got back from a massive raid that we did, and we just pretty much pillaged all of the coastline of the Byzantine Empire with the Black Sea, which is pretty sweet. When did Grimnir get a sweet beard like that, man? Damn, Grim. We just converted to Slovakianska Pravda. So we've got this going. What's up, David? How are you doing, dude? We've got some other issues to deal with, though. So, for one, we were poisoned. We're not feeling very well. And we know who it was. We know exactly who it was. A little shit. Who I kept alive. Who I thought, you know what? He's okay. He likes me. We won't be able to get tribal authority here until 905. That's 10 years. Here's some interesting issues. So we have not feeling well until 901, but we living healthy will drop at 899. So, oof. And this also will drop at 898. So our boosts to our health, which are negating what's going on with not feeling well, is going to start really hurting us. If we can make it past 901, we'll be okay, but it's not looking too good right now. We have to try and do some things that might hopefully scale that back. We have already set up because we have the Scandinavian elective. I can't believe this little shit. We have the Scandinavian elective, like I was saying. Who are you? Who are you, little guy? You're probably gonna get killed. All right, back to succession. So we have the Scandinavian elective. So Velez, our primary dude, because he's got genius and he's married into robust, will become our heir. Or he is our heir currently. So if we die suddenly, he will at least take over. He will get, and we can probably kind of finagle succession right now. He will get the Kingdom of Ruthenia, then he will get the Duchy that is Kiev, and the two, we'll get both Chernobyl and Kiev actual. We have still yet to convert to Russian. Bro, like, we will definitely convert to Russian, though. That is going to happen. So let's go ahead and disband this army. And let's deal with what we... Oh, we're going to wait for Defender of Rod, too. We're going to wait for our little bro to take that over. Our... Blue! Thanks, Garrett Mueller. Appreciate it, man. Get max sacrificing the entire population of Lithuania to Odin to the point that no one against you, but your wife still feels comfortable sleeping around. Touche, Thukad. Thomas Leaf, what's up, man? I don't have in-game music off. Do you have the game? Do you have it muted? I'm well, Colonel Burton. I just had a terrible little bout. So I've taken to, like, in the morning, I'll drink tea. Oh yeah, I'll have some green tea, and this should helpfully, like, you know, ease up any chest congestion. And I also take like an allergy pill that has a decongestion in it. But fuck, man, I always have that like 10 to 15 minute period where I have to like pass everything basically, and it always happens without fail right when I start streaming. So she can marry, and we can have her marry anything. Is it really?